Welcome to Car and Driver. This is the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, and it's our EV of the Year award winner for 2024. Each year, we gather the newest all-electric vehicles on the market, ranging from entry-level commuters to trucks and SUVs. We test the performance and range of each vehicle and drive them back-to-back on the same roads. We evaluate usability, driving enjoyment, value, and so on within the context of each vehicle segment. Ultimately, we seek four criteria: value, fun to drive, advancement of technology, and mission fulfillment. And the Hyundai Ioniq 5N was our overwhelming favorite. Now, this probably shouldn't be too surprising because 2 years ago we gave the award to the regular Ioniq 5, crediting its usefulness, quickness, design, and efficiency. Last year the award went to the Ioniq 6, which shares a platform with the 5. Now we have this N version, which builds upon the formula that made the regular 5 such a success in our books, but adds to it a lot of power and better handling. That sounds like a recipe for success to us. Don't think of this as yet another quick EV. Think of it as a hot hatch that happens to be electric. And yeah, it's confusing if Hyundai calls it an SUV, but it's just a little easier to digest it that way. Put all that aside though and think about the personalities that you get. You want a quiet commuter? You got that. How about a 641 horsepower rocket that can out-accelerate a Corvette to the quarter mile? That too. How about an EV that can drift? Yep. We recorded 60-mile-an-hour acceleration in 3 seconds and the quarter mile in 11.1 seconds at 123 miles an hour. Getting that performance requires using the car's drag mode, which needs time to pre-warm the battery, as much as 20 minutes in our testing in cooler weather. Yeah, in the regular drive mode, you're left with a measly 601 horsepower. Like, oh darn, right? But let's zoom out a little bit because you kind of expect that from an enthusiast EV. In fact, broadly, the biggest criticism you can put against this kind of EV is that, yeah, it's quick, but generally these all kind of feel the same. So you have to appreciate how much work Hyundai put into giving the N distinct personalities. The sheer volume of settings is actually a bit overwhelming. There's like 11 different options for a front to rear torque distribution, for example, from front wheel drive to rear wheel drive. And it doesn't help that many of the names are filtered through this like tangled web of marketing speak, so it isn't immediately obvious what a lot of these options do. Like, what's N pedal? What's this red NGB button? I don't know, better read the manual. But take the time to learn these settings and adjust them to your preferences, and you'll find that there's probably something for everybody. In fact, you can set 2 custom settings to your ideal driving preferences and use these 2 buttons here at the bottom of the steering wheel like radio presets to change them depending on the mode. That means you can have a mode for a commuting, a mode for back roads, and a mode for a racetrack. Now, some people may not want to be engineer. They might prefer Hyundai's N division to have a personality or a preference for what the personality of its enthusiast cars should be. That's entirely valid criticism. Others, I'm sure, will enjoy having the ability to tailor the car's preference for a variety of circumstances. Now, either way, no matter how you drive it, enjoyable handling and steering is kind of core to how this car is made. You're going to enjoy driving it on the commute, you're going to enjoy driving it on the back road. That's all nice and good. It feels fun through corners. On our skid pad, it generated 0.96 G, and our testing director called it one of the most power oversteery cars that he's driven in that test, and that's with the front rear torque distribution set at 50-50. On that front, this car does have a drift mode. Let's see how it works.
but many cars have drift modes these days. As of the time of this recording though, the 5N is the only EV that simulates having a quick shifting automatic transmission.
Working with configurable fake engine sounds, Hyundai's actually effectively and convincingly recreated the experience of driving a actual transmission with paddle shifters all the way to and including lugging the engine in top gear and bouncing off the limiter. Listen to this. Yeah, that might sound gimmicky and silly to some. You also might wonder why Hyundai didn't choose a better sounding exhaust note. But the truth be told, one of the challenges with driving a powerful EV on a racetrack or some mountain roads is that you don't really have reference points to tell you how fast you're approaching a corner. And engine sounds, gears, even fake ones help tell you where you're at with regard to speed. They give you that extra sensory feedback that can help, frankly, even if it is a little silly. And plenty on our staff thought it was. Still, it might be slower. It might not sound as good as it could, but I'll be darned if it doesn't actually help place my speed on these corners. And it's pretty enjoyable here, I gotta admit. And here's the thing, if you don't like it, you can just ignore it and it's not gonna make the experience of driving this thing any worse. Pretty convincing. So, fun to drive? Check. But what about range and charging?
For the former, we run a real-world 75-mile-an-hour highway range test to give you a figure that you can take in conjunction with EPA range figures.
Hyundai's claim, speaking of, is 221 miles for the N, and in our test it achieved 190 miles. That isn't too far off the last Ioniq 5 all-wheel drive we tested at 210 miles, but note that the N has a 9% larger battery and it also rides on stickier Pirelli P0 summer tires, although EV-rated ones with additional sound deadening.
As for charging, we record a 10 to 90% fill using the fastest charger available.
The N, like the regular Ioniq 5, uses an 800-volt electric architecture that allows it to take full advantage of 350 kilowatt DC fast chargers.
On one of those chargers that was working properly, we recorded that test in 35 minutes.
The Hyundai Ioniq 5N is tremendously fun to drive, offering distinct personalities that owners, if they choose, can adjust to their preferences. It's quicker than most of its competitive set, if not all the vehicles in its competitive set, and it retains an interior that's spacious and functional while also being adept at the racetrack and serving the needs of the daily commute. All that for less than $70,000. In sum, this unquestionably fulfills our EV of the Year criteria, while also showing what the future of fun-to-drive EVs might look like.